All right, so here we go. So before we dive into the actual core of the program, I really think it's important that I give you an overview of what you're going to be learning, but also what to expect as well, and really setting the right expectations and intentions for this program. So everything I'm about to teach you in this program can be used in quite a few ways. Ultimately, this program is to help you create audios, subliminal audios, whatever you want to call them, affirmation audios, for your coaching clients, your therapy clients, your RTT, NLP, healing clients, as a way to enhance the session that you may have done face-to-face or over Zoom or Skype. So that's the first way, and ultimately you want to use this, this product and these teaching I'm going to give you. Secondly, is you can actually use this for yourself. So if you've joined this program but are not necessarily a coach or a therapist and want to learn the perfect way to create your own audios to change your own unconscious blueprint, to change your habits, your actions, your thoughts, your emotions, and turn them into something way more positive, you can use the exact same instructions I'm going to give you today. With this program as well, as I mentioned in the previous video, you'll have access to dozens and dozens and dozens of binaural beats, audios, also background music that you can use for the audios, meditations, or something like that. Now, I have paid for all these binaural beats. We have the license for all of these. So these are free to use. Okay. There's no royalty issues or anything like that. So you can use them to give to your clients. You can actually sell the product you're creating to your clients using these audios as well. If you also want to use the background music or even binaural beats to create like a YouTube video, like a subliminal audio for stop biting your nails, and you want to use the subliminal process here, but you also want to use the binaural beat itself that we give you, you're more than welcome to as well. And you shouldn't have any issues with YouTube stopping that video or having any royalty issues. So there'll be this further instructional video to show you how to download those audios, but there's so many to choose from. But really in this video, what I want to break down is how to get the most out of this program, how to create the audios, how to teach your clients to use the audios, how to use the binaural beats properly, how to use the right software, which will come up in the following videos. I'll take through the whole process of using the software, how to create and record your audios and things like that. But in this video, let's go through these 10 things right here, and let's really understand what needs to happen in order to create the perfect audio. So number one, I want you to understand this. This is just my recommendations. There is no perfect science or no real proof as far as this is exactly how do you create the ultimate audio. All I'm going to do is give you my recommendations. My recommendations have come from over a decade as a therapist myself, and what I recommend and the way that I used to create these audios for myself and my clients. So this is just my recommendations, okay? So number two will be, what is a BB or a binaural beat? Choosing the correct binaural beat, your hypnotic voice. Number five will be the suggestion delivery part one. The suggestions are the instructions or the process instructions you give to your clients. Number six will be the suggestion delivery part two. Number seven is avoiding metaphors and stories. I'm going to talk to you guys why I do not recommend that you use heavy intentional stories or metaphors in your audios. I'm going to show you what to use instead. Number eight is what I call the speech to your client, which is the use of the audio. So we've got to realize some clients will heed your instructions when you say you've got to listen to these audios for 30 days straight. They'll have no problems following that instruction. Some clients may listen to it for 10 days, then drop off, and then they might complain they're not getting the results. So what I want to give you guys is just a quick speech or a quick concept you can give to your clients. You can read to them, you can give it to them to teach them the value of listening to this audios and basically following your instructions to get the most from them. Number nine is we'll talk about the duration, how long your audio should be, the time when your client should listen to the audios, and when to listen to them as far as what time of the day and things like this. As I mentioned before, if you want to use these audios for your own self, just follow the exact same instructions. Number 10 is what I call the hypnotic drift sequence and the audio timeline. So I think I've talked enough about the overview. Let's dive into what is a binaural beat, and remembering that this is my recommendations, okay? Right, so what is a binaural beat? So simply put, a BB is a mix of sounds, beats, and in some case, music that will overload the mind and create a relaxing state in your clients. We refer to this as that relaxing state as basically just being trance. We know that when we bypass the conscious mind, we're entering more into a trance state. One of the easiest way to bypass the conscious mind and stopping that trance state from happening or continuing is to either overload it with too much information, where it basically says, I can't follow this. Too much is going on. I'm going to go away because this is too hard. Another way is to basically relax it. It's sort of like if you have a child and you want a child to go to sleep, you would rock it back and forward till it would relax. The same sort of thing, or the same melodic tune in the binaural beat as well, can also sort of rock the conscious mind to be less active. Okay. And again, if you're using this for yourself, you're not interested in coaching or therapy, you can still follow the instructions as far as the brief history of this and what this is all about. And just so you can wrap your mind around why binaural beats are so important. So like I said, simply put, a binaural beat is a mix of sounds, beats, and in some case, music that will overload the mind and create a relaxing state in your clients or also yourself. Number two, they are a great alternative to a more formal trance like the process when you work with your clients one-on-one. So when you're working one-on-one, you might have certain words that you use to induct your clients to create trance. That might be like an instant induction or something like that. That's the more formal way of doing it. What I like about the binaural beat is it takes precedence to that. It can be supplemented instead of doing the face-to-face stuff, because you can't, because it's in audio form. The binaural beat will have a similar effect. It's sometimes a bit of a longer process, not as instant, but the binaural beat will get clients into trance. Number three, with a certain beat, frequency, or music that is played in one ear and a different beat, frequency, or music played in the other, which is left and right ear, this overload of information will quiet the conscious mind down and allow trance state to begin. This is just a simple, basic version of it. If you want to do your own research, find out more, there's a lot of great studies on binaural beats. So you can use, if you want to use your own research, if you want to understand more of the mechanics, you might want to understand more about the brain waves, which will be your delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma waves. It's said that certain waves and certain frequencies will create a certain type of emotion or state inside the mind. You can go ahead and research all that. But I want to keep this really, really simple. Just understand that binaural beats will help you supplement the face-to-face interaction in the trance that you create for your client, and do it through the audio itself, okay? If we don't have some sort of binaural beat or overload the mind with our instructions, your clients are basically going to listen to the audio at a conscious state, which is really not going to help them, because we know all of their problems exist unconsciously. So that's what a binaural beat is. Let's just keep it really, really simple, and that'll give you an overview right there. All right, so choosing the right binaural beat, knowing that you're going to have many options to choose from in this course, the way that I recommend, if you want to find the right binaural beat for your client, find one that you like to listen to, okay? There's several different versions I'm going to give you. If you like one, use that one. If you don't like certain ones, don't use those ones, okay? But at the end of the day, trying to use a binaural beat in your audio is going to be your best friend, okay? So number one, so some people report feeling dizzy or nauseous when they listen to binaural beats. So if you haven't listened to a binaural beat yourself, I do recommend going through the experience, listen to it for like 10 or 15, maybe 20 minutes, just the beat itself. See how you feel. If you report being nauseous or dizzy, it may be just too much of an overload for your mind, okay? And these things can happen as a reaction. I'll also give you binaural beats or beats without the binaural stuff in the background. It's just a pleasant sound that will do just as good a job to overload the mind as well. But it's always good to experience this for yourself. So while using binaural beats is recommended, I also recommend giving your clients the option without them too. So ask your clients if they've experienced binaural beats before. They say yes. However, I didn't like the sound. It was annoying. I felt sick. Give them an audio without the binaural beat, okay? So you can still use a sound in the background to distract the mind. I'll give you some alternatives, like a rain or a storm is a good alternative as well. I'll give you those sounds as well. Number two, some binaural beats do have a fast beat, which I personally find too distracting. So if you've listened to any beats before, the pulsing beat is really, 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 really fast. It sounds like a jackhammer. I do not like those. I like to have the binaural beat at more of a softer frequency, and I like to have some sort of different music in the background so the beat's almost hidden. That's what I like. But again, you have your own recommendations as well. So I recommend using a softer tone, but that's just me. So you have access to several binaural beat options in this training as well. So the reason for a binaural beat is to distract the conscious mind with several sounds at once, so it becomes overloaded, gives up, and goes away. That's the basic idea. So we know that a trance needs to distract the conscious mind, and a binaural beat will do the job for you. So if you're a therapist or a coach, you can do that formally. Because you're sitting in front of your clients or over Zoom, you would use some sort of pattern interrupt. You might use some sort of hypnotic language. You might tell a story, instant induction, whatever you do to create the trance before you start the suggestions. The binaural beat will take care of that for you, okay? So now let's look at one of the most important parts, which is the hypnotic voice, okay? And you want to make sure you get this right. So it might take a little bit of practice, for your hypnotic voice. So number one, your hypnotic voice sets the tone of the audio, and it can either break trance or deepen it. Aim for your voice to be at a lower register, calming, and more melodic, okay? If we want our clients to go into trance, it's always great, even over an audio, it's always great, practice to sort of go into trance yourself. But you want to slow your voice down, lower it. If you want your client to go into trance, you don't have a big, boisterous, exciting voice, because that is giving the intention of something else. So look at any great hypnotist or therapist, go to YouTube and watch them. When their clients are heavily in trance, they start to slow down as well. Their voice starts to soften. It's more melodic. It's more musical. It has a rhythm or a tone to it. You want to aim for these things, and you want to do this also in your audios as well. So number three, and this is what I like to do, you want to emphasize on certain words that are important. You can also repeat them. These are known as power suggestions. If, for example, if you use notes from your live sessions, or you just remember this and notice that certain suggestions had an effect in the session, use these in your audios. So let's say, for example, back in the day when I worked with stop smoking clients, I'd get them into trance and I'd be giving my suggestions to do whenever I was. Let's say I gave the suggestion of, quit smoking easy. And I said that. And I looked at my client and I noticed like an unconscious twitch, or I noticed them smile, or I noticed them relax deeper. That to me is a power suggestion. It means that the words I've just said had a really good reaction. So what do? I will repeat those words. That's it. You can give up smoking, or you can quit smoking easy. And I would tend to repeat a lot of the same stuff over my sessions with my clients. If I'm creating audios, I could do the same thing. I could emphasize that statement, because if they re-listen to it in the audio, it's just going to enhance what I've told them to do in the live session. So make note of what happens when you're watching your clients. As part of your therapy, therapist and a coach, you should always have your eyes on your client as well. Watch for these, what are called unconscious moments. If you say a word, do a certain thing, and you notice your client twitches, or they smile, they start to perspire, they breathe heavily, they laugh, they might start to cry, they're releasing some sort of emotion. Reuse these words or these statements in the audios, because they have a really dramatic effect as well, because they've been proven that that's what your client's mind likes to hear. So you want to use those in your audios. Number four, I like this as well. Longer than normal gaps between suggestions or pausing mid-sentence should be used as a sort of confusion of the mind. So I've heard audios in the past where the therapist just talks non-stop. You don't want to do that. And I'll talk about the suggestion delivery very soon. What I would rather do is give a suggestion. Let's say you'll quit smoking easier. Then I have a long pause. And because I'm not talking, they're going to hear the binaural beat. They're going to hear the music. So they're going to stay in that confusion place. They're going to be overloaded consciously. So I'll still stay in trance. Then I might repeat that statement. I might even repeat the statement, but I might stop mid-sentence. Or I might take a part of that statement and just say a small part of it. So an example, I might say, you quit smoking easy. And I have 10, 15 seconds of a pause. That's it. Easy now. So I've just taken a part of the sentence. Then I might say, that's it. You can quit, pause, smoking easy now. Okay. Probably not the best suggestion. It might it might imply, smoking is easy, but you see my point here. Okay. You got to play around this. And this was an Ericksonian trick. If you ever get a chance to watch Milton Erickson, there are some videos of him on YouTube. If you're interested, he would do this a lot. He would emphasize words. He would stop mid-sentence. He would have longer than normal breaks and just stare at his client. These are all great confusion techniques. It really gets the attention of the mind. So you can throw these things in. Don't overdo it. But what I'm really pointing at here is don't just talk all the way through your audios. Allow the binaural beat and the music in the background to keep the client in trance. If you talk too much, it'll pull them out of trance. There's always a risk in something that I used to keep in the back of my mind, that the more I talk during a session with my clients in trance, the more chance I have of saying the wrong thing, saying too many things, and the client coming out of trance. I want to avoid that. So a lot of the times in my session, I spent the majority of my time in a lot of silence and just really emphasizing my suggestion. I'd rather say one suggestion and mean it than 100 suggestions just trying to get through my list of things to say. Okay, so keep these in mind. Number 5, every client you work with has a different representation of certain words, okay? So avoid using words that you like over the words your clients like. So this can be a little bit tough sometimes because you're creating an audio, But what I'm pointing at here is over time of, let's say you've got a niche type client and you know that there's certain words that a lot of your clients, because you're fixing the same problem, tend to use to talk about their problem or they want as a result. Try and use your client's words instead of making up words yourself. And this will actually lead into when I talk about not using your own metaphors and stories to give to your clients. I'll talk about why that's really important. But at the end of the day, try and use your client's words over yours because they'll have a different representation. A lot of words had different meanings. Some can be negative meanings to a certain what you think is positive word. So you've got to bear that in mind. Number 6, over time, the sound of your voice will become the trigger for trance, which will strengthen the suggestion. So this is a great thing. Over time, your client's unconscious mind will link your voice and the way that you talk to a relaxing state. So you'll notice the more your clients listen to your audios, the deeper they'll go into trance to a certain extent, the more they'll get out of the audio because the conscious mind just goes, yep, this is safe. I've heard this voice before. Nothing happened last time. Go ahead and go do your thing. And the unconscious mind will say, hey, I've heard this voice before. Gave me some great suggestions. I'm going to absorb these quicker. There's no resistance there, but that can take some time. So that's your hypnotic voice. Do practice your voice by calming down a lower register, calming more melodic. If you want an example of this, just go onto YouTube, watch other hypnotherapists or coaches in action, more the hypnotherapists. Watch them in action, listen to their voice, listen to how they slow down, the lower register, the tone, the gaps in their words, all these things. Write these things down and play around with these on your audios as well. My real point here is the way I'm talking to you guys now probably shouldn't create any sort of trance. But if I slow down, I put gaps, I emphasize my words, plus binaural beats in the background, you can basically turn any conversation hypnotic, okay? So that's your hypnotic voice. So do practice that, and let's move on to the next part of this video. So now let's look at the suggestion delivery part 1. So again, these are just my recommendations. You can either follow these recommendations or deliver suggestions the way that you feel comfortable. But here's what I recommend. So number 1, I've read stories, I've heard therapists and coaches try to provide proof on this in regards to what's the best way to give suggestion or delivery suggestion to your clientele. So I've heard that your voice should be really, really fast to bypass the conscious mind. I've also heard that you should whisper so the client won't remember the suggestion. And maybe you should speak directly to the left ear for some suggestions and you speak to the right ear for other suggestions and so on and so forth. I don't buy any of this stuff, and I do not recommend that you do this stuff. I keep thinking about it. If I don't do it in a normal session, I don't actually whisper. So I'm, trying to hide the suggestion from my clients. I don't talk really, 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 really fast so the conscious mind doesn't hear. I don't, stand up and talk in one side of my client's left ear and the other in the right. I don't do any of that stuff. So like I said, this is not an exact science. So keep the process simple. It's just KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. If I'm not going to do these things in the session, I'm not going to do them on my audios. So the talking fast thing to bypass the conscious mind. Well, if you put a client into trance, there's no conscious mind, so you don't have to talk really, really fast. And talking really, really, really fast, you're going to make mistakes. It doesn't sound normal. It's very hard to have a hypnotic voice when you're super, super fast with your voice, okay? Whispering, at the end of the day, I don't care if my clients remember the suggestions or not. I don't care. I don't think it has any effect. The unconscious mind is a lot smarter than you, the client's unconscious mind. So it'll remember certain things. It won't remember certain things. It doesn't matter if your client remembers what you said to them in trance. They're in trance. Once they're conscious and awake, they can play around the suggestion all they want because it's been installed unconsciously. So it doesn't matter. And again, the left and right ear thing, I think that's awkward. But again, if you do all that stuff, that's fine. If it works, it works. For the audios, I recommend just keeping them simple, okay? Number 2, changing the mind is just about repetition. That's the way that I see changing the unconscious mind, changing the blueprint, personal development, whatever you have, habits, thoughts, issues, emotions, whatever you're trying to overcome or your clients are trying to overcome. I think repetition is what, at a hypnotic trance state, when they're in trance and repeating the same sort of suggestions, that's going to have a bigger impact. And I really think that's how a lot of change work should be viewed. Change in the mind is just about repetition, not whispering or speaking fast or anything like that. So if you don't do that stuff in your sessions with clients, there is no point putting it in your audios. I always use this statement. It's a bit of fun. If Erickson didn't do it, I don't either. Okay, live by this rule. All right, so Erickson wasn't getting out of his wheelchair to talk left to right ear because he couldn't. He wasn't speaking really, really fast because he couldn't. He wasn't whispering so no one could hear what he was saying because it's not part of the trance process. It's just a regular conversation slowed down at a very unconscious pace and a trance pace, with the intention to keep somebody in trance. Okay. Number 3, the binaural beat will create the trance. Your slow melodic suggestions will continue the trance, and the suggestion meaning will change the mind where it needs to change. That's just hypnosis 101. All right. All the other stuff, all these other things everyone says you should do, these are more just theories and ideas for them to maybe sell a new product or their version of hypnosis. I never take away from the classics. I always look at the, best therapists and coaches in the world. And if they're not doing this stuff, why would I? Okay. But again, these are just my suggestions and what I recommend. So that's the suggestion delivery part 1. So now let's look at the suggestion delivery part 2. Number 1, there is a lot of debate on how the mind responds to words and how you direct the suggestion. Some will say it has to be in like an I am statement, but there's no proof of this. A lot of people scream and yell, it's got to be I am, and they spend so long trying to put their suggestions into an I am statement, which doesn't make sense grammatically. It's incorrect. There's no proof. No one can prove that it has to be an I am. No one can prove any of this stuff. These are just theories that might sound good on paper, but not necessarily work. And anytime there's any doubt in my mind, I just stick to the classic. I just do what I would normally do in a session. Then some will say, when you're directing a suggestion to a client, you have to say you, okay? And you have to say you're becoming instead of you are. There's a lot of this stuff thrown around. A suggestion is just an instruction. The unconscious mind is smart enough to figure out the context. Don't let speculation ruin your suggestions, okay? So what do I recommend you should do? Number 2, I recommend when you direct a suggestion to your client, just in your audio, you say the word like you are instead of I am. So if I'm creating a audio for my clients and it's my voice, I wouldn't say I am becoming a millionaire, because now it sounds like I'm sort of talking about me. I would say to them, you are becoming a millionaire, because it's in my voice and I'm the therapist. So I do that in my audio as well. So I believe in that. You do want to say you are, okay? And present tense, past tense, again, I'm not big on that. Just tell clients what they want to hear. Okay. So I recommend when you direct a suggestion in your audios, if you were talking to your clients, use the you are statement, you are, or you are becoming, or you will be, whatever it is, instead of I am, because it's in your voice. Because it's your voice and it may sound like you're talking about yourself. If you're using your own audios, follow the exact same process, but say I am. So if I'm creating an audio for myself, I'll be saying, Scott, I am a millionaire. I am rich. I am successful. I'm becoming successful. Or I am a non-smoker. Or I am losing weight every time I go to the gym. Whatever my suggestions are. But if I'm talking to a client, I'm going to say you are, because it's in my voice. Okay. Next, number 3, the most important for this part right here is vague suggestions. Okay. Now you can go online and you can get suggestions for pretty much anything. You can get affirmations, affirmations for absolutely everything. But a lot of them come across as just really vague. And these are big ones. And these are more the classic ones. So you might have heard things like, you are growing stronger every day. What does that really mean? There's so many different contexts and things that could mean. It's not direct. The unconscious mind, in its way, will appreciate some sort of vagueness, but I also realize as well, the unconscious mind, just tell it what you want it to believe. Tell it what you want it to do. So if you're saying every day you are growing stronger every day, what does that mean? The unconscious mind could say, well, what? Are you growing stronger at the gym? Are you growing stronger internally? Are you growing stronger to open up a jar of tomato sauce? Whatever it is. It's too vague, okay? Another one, which is pretty classic, every day in every way you are receiving abundant power. What does that mean? Okay, this may be misinterpreted. Just tell clients what they want to hear. And whatever you want to tell a client, just tell them directly. There's nothing wrong with just very direct suggestions. So just tell the clients what they want to hear in exact details. If they want to be a millionaire, tell them you are becoming or are a millionaire with each action you take in your business. Simple. It could be misinterpreted if you're trying to say that to a client, but you're saying every day you're becoming abundantly wealthy. Too vague. Give the unconscious mind some sort of parameters to work with. And using words like millionaire, You are becoming. They're obvious words that the client can understand. Okay. But you are growing strong every day and every way, be receiving abundant power. I think it's too vague, and I recommend avoid those suggestions. Be very direct, even for your own audios. Just tell yourself what you want to hear. Okay. Number 4 is time. Another curious thing is whether you should add a time limit to the suggestions. Like, you will become anxiety free in 30 days, or you will become a non-smoker in the next hour, rather than you are a non-smoker. You will become a non-smoker. Should you put a time limit or parameters on when you want this suggestion to really, really be activated? My thoughts on this: try it, see what happens. Again, it's not a perfect science. No one can prove whether that's right or wrong. This isn't an exact science. Keep it simple, stupid. Do what works best for you. If your clients love it, keep doing it. If you don't see it's working, don't do it. Okay, you're just trialing this stuff. It's all just a test right at the start. Next, and I think a very, very important part, is to what I call avoid pre-made metaphors and stories. So number 1, we've all heard those relaxation audios where the guru says, and now an incredible white light will fill your mind and you'll start to see a landscape full of meaning. And now an ethereal being will stand before you and show you the perfect sign that has been decided on by your unconscious mind to change your life. That was a real suggestion I took from an audio. What does that mean? Okay. You want to avoid putting your fish into other people's dreams. If you listen to an audio, you read a affirmation or affirmation and you love that, that's you. You want to avoid heavily implied metaphors and stories that you like. You want to avoid putting them in your audios, because just because you like it doesn't mean your client will get the same meaning. They may not like it at all. Okay. I heard a fascinating story of a therapist that was telling a story to a client when he was trying to relax her, and he would say, you're swimming in a large blue ocean. Then you slowly start to sink, to the bottom of the ocean, all the way down, going, and it's implying going all the way down and relaxing. But the client was scared of water. They had a phobia of water, and the client freaked out. Okay. Now, this is an example of using metaphors and stories that are too heavily implied based on what you like. So what do I recommend? I recommend telling as very little stories as possible. Maybe some little hints at a couple of stories here and there. Metaphors, I try to avoid them as much as possible. Every now and then is fine, but I'm always a big fan of just direct suggestions. If the binaural beat's going to create the trance, just give them the suggestions, like opening up a jar and putting stuff in. You don't go in a roundabout way. You don't tell a story is dropping. Just drop the suggestion in, okay? So anytime you use a pre-made metaphor, you'll also find these if you're reading a script that maybe you've downloaded online, which never made sense to me anyway. They're full of stories and metaphors that probably don't make sense to you, but made sense to the person writing it. Okay. Don't put your fish in other people's dreams. So anytime you use a pre-made metaphor with too many implications that imply meaning, maybe to you, can be rejected by your clients. If you force your images, metaphors, and stories on your clients and they cannot see or feel what you're telling them to, it'll break the trance. It'll piss the client off. Because here you're saying now you can see a landscape and the client's thinking, hang on, no, I can't. And you're implying that the landscape has meaning and you're thinking, well, hang on, I can't even see the landscape. What are you talking about? And now the landscape's filling you up with abundant power and you can feel it. Yes, you can just feel it. And the client's going, hang on, no, I can't feel any of this. I can't even see the freaking thing. You're going to break trance. So it's better just have those direct suggestions. So I recommend straight, direct suggestions. Once the mind is in trance, talking directly to the unconscious mind will always yield the best results, and it's a lot easier for you as well. Some confusion in your suggestions, like I mentioned before, the long pauses, the gaps, or using open-ended stories. I find little things, but not long, drawn-out 15-minute stories. Okay, just maybe a couple of hints at some images or a quick story, or an examination of a story that may mean something. They're fine, but don't overdo it. Okay, so my recommendation, avoid pre-made metaphors and stories to avoid breaking the trance and having your clients struggle to see and accept what you're trying to have them do. So next is the important speech. So if you're struggling with your clients who are not listening to your audios, they're not following maybe your 14-day audio series, your 30-day audio series that's going to enhance what you've done with them face-to-face, this is what you could say to them. I think a little bit of education to your client will go a long way and it'll help them see the importance of listening to the audios and sticking to the routine. So some clients will take your advice, listen to the audios and follow the routine, and some will question the importance of them. Use this speech to persuade your client. So you might say something like this. Now the session is complete. I've specially designed audios to enhance and strengthen our session. The unconscious mind, or subconscious, whatever you want to call it, needs to be reminded so that it installs your new habits, thoughts, and actions, and give that some context for the problem they came in with. The more you listen to the audios, the better results you'll receive. If you do not listen to them, the unconscious mind may reject everything we've done in our sessions, wasting your time and meaning your habits. Thoughts and actions will not be changed, meaning your problem, habits, and pain will remain the same. Does this make sense? Client says yes. They'll probably have no problems following the audio. A little bit of education, how the unconscious mind, the process of that will go a long way so they can see the importance of it. If all you do is just throw your audios at them and say, hey, listen to these because I said so, it maybe not fly. So get a verbal agreement from your client and answer any questions they have. If you sell your audios as this is what you should do because I say so, they may reject the importance of them. So another thing to realize as well is if you're selling just the audios, maybe on your website or something like this, have some instructions alongside with those audios as well. You know, if you want to listen to these, I'm going to sell them to you, but these are the instructions and this is the importance of listening to the audio as well. Just some basic instructions will help as well. So that's the important speech. If you're struggling with your clients following the instructions you give them, think of something like that. Use that, ad-lib that, and just make sure they understand why you want them to listen to the audios. Don't just expect people to. So the next is the duration, when to listen to the audios and everything in between. Okay, so I'll keep this really, really simple. So in my own opinion, I suggest not to exceed 20 minutes per audio. Okay, 20 minutes is a long time for someone to stay still and focus on the instructions. Number two, long audios will make your clients restless and they will have less time to listen to them in their busy schedule. So I've had audios in the past that go for like an hour long. I didn't have enough time to listen to that. After about 20 minutes, laying on my bed or sitting on a seat, I get restless, I get uncomfortable. My conscious mind clicks in and thinks, okay, Scott, you should go be doing something else with your life right now. Go do something else with your day. You've got a busy day. You've got to go do this and that. And clients just won't listen to it. Okay. So I prefer about 15 minutes per audio, 15, 20 minutes max. Okay. Listen to them twice a day. So tell this to your clients. I've got a 15-minute audio. Listen to the same audio twice a day. It'll take you 30 minutes in total per day. Listen to it twice a day. First thing in the morning when you wake up is always best because you're still a little bit tranced out. Last thing when you go to sleep at nighttime because you're starting to rest. This is an easy timetable to stick to that will not disrupt your client's life too much. If listening to the audios becomes a chore, they will find excuses as to why they couldn't listen to them. Okay, so 15-minute audios twice a day, 30 minutes a day, that's ample time. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is the hypnotic drift. And as you can see down the bottom here, this is a timeline. I'll show you where to put this hypnotic drift, but it's just an addition to enhance the power of these audios. So number one, if your audio runs for 15 minutes, it's best practice to then allow for about 1 to 3 minutes of silence from you, and just have the binaural beat and the music playing in the background. So to allow for the mind to absorb and synthesize the suggestions and then allow the audio to finish. All right, so here's what I mean. Let's say my audio goes for 15 or 20 minutes. This might add up to about 15, 17 minutes, something like that. Here's what I recommend. This will be the timeline. The first part of the audio, between the first 1 and 3 minutes, I just allow the binaural beat to create the trance. Okay, so I'm not talking, I'm just allowing the beat for them to listen to, relax themselves and go into trance. Okay. Then what I might do after that 3-minute mark for about 1 or 2 minutes, the first part of the suggestion may be me saying, okay, now you can hear my voice. You're relaxing further all the way now. You feel the bed below you. That's helping you relax, whatever it is. Deepen the trance. These are just deepening suggestions for about 1 to 2 minutes, taking your time, getting your hypnotic voice right. Once they're in trance, plus the binaural beats keeping them in trance and adding to the trance, then start your hypnotic suggestions for like 5 to 7 minutes. Melodic, slow, low register, gaps in your suggestion, your sentences. This is where you're going to tell your clients what to do, okay, and how to change. Once that 7 minutes is up, then I'll allow for some process instructions, which will be like, after you give them the suggestion, you might say, okay, now the mind has heard everything I've had to say, can process these instructions correctly. You'll notice that from the days following this, you'll start to feel better. You'll notice things starting to change. So you're basically telling people, this is like a hypnotic tool. You tell people after the suggestions, you're telling the unconscious mind, okay, I've given you the suggestions. Now here's what I want you to do with them. Okay, so I might do that for about 1 minute. Then I'm going to be quiet. So let's say this is like the 13-minute mark. I might have 2 minutes of just the hypnotic drift. Let them listen to the music, let the trance stay. They might start to visualize things. They might have some, emotion stuff come out. Allow this to happen and then just allow the audio to end. Okay, that's basically the timeline. But as you can see, I'm utilizing the audio. I'm not just talking all the way through it. If you're talking for 15 minutes straight, you're doing far too much work. You shouldn't be talking that much to your clients when they're sitting in front of you or during a live session. Allow the trance to do what it's supposed to do. That's where people make change, in the trance state. But every time you talk, you run the risk of a client coming out of trance because it shocks them out of trance. So it's always best to talk less, mean what you say, and allow the audio to do the job, the beat to do the job, and allow the hypnotic drift at the end to just summarize and synthesize all the instructions you've given these people. All right. So guys, that is the overview of really creating the perfect audio. So what I'm going to do in the next videos coming up is I'm going to show you guys how I would edit the audio. I'm going to use some simple software. You may have different software. I'll talk about the volume of your voice and stuff like that. And then obviously, guys, you'll have access to all the binaural beats as well. A few more instructional videos of how to get the most out of these beats and the binaural stuff as well. But this pretty much is the core of the program. Now I've discussed it. You know what to do, how to set it up, what to say, your hypnotic voice, the suggestion delivery. It really just comes with a little bit of practice to create the best audios. So you want to start to create these straight away, start giving them to your clients. You can start selling them to your clients. You can use them for yourself. Just follow the exact same instructions. But like I said, if you're doing this for yourself, tell yourself what you want. Use the you are, okay, for your clients. For yourself, say I am, because it's your voice and you're talking to yourself. So just make that distinction as well. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.